Right now, millions of Americans are checking their bank accounts every few hours, refreshing, waiting, because the money that's supposed to show up this week hasn't landed for everyone yet. And the reason why has nothing to do with a glitch, and everything to do with a rule most people don't find out about until their check is late. Because here's the thing nobody explains clearly. Social Security doesn't pay everyone on the same day. It never has. The government splits 70 million people across a staggered calendar, and this particular week, that calendar collided with a holiday, a birthday cutoff, and a payment quirk that's about to catch a huge number of seniors completely off guard. Some of you already got paid. Some of you get paid in the next few days. And some of you are going to see a payment land that you didn't expect. And if you don't know why, you might think something is wrong with your account when actually nothing is wrong at all. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly which category you fall into. And there's a twist near the end, involving a countdown clock the government doesn't like to talk about. Let's start with what already happened. On July 1st, Supplemental Security Income recipients got paid. That's the program for people over 65, or blind, or disabled with limited income. That payment always goes out on the first of the month, like clockwork. Then something shifted. Normally, one group of beneficiaries, the ones who started collecting Social Security before May of 1997, or anyone getting both SSI and Social Security together, gets paid on the 3rd of the month. But this year, July 3rd landed on a Friday, and July 4th, the actual holiday, fell on a Saturday. So the government moved Independence Day observance to Friday. Banks close, which meant that payment had to shift one day earlier, to July 2nd, a Thursday. If you were expecting your check on the 3rd and it showed up a day early, that wasn't a mistake. That was the system protecting you from a holiday delay. But if you didn't know that rule existed, you'd have spent that Thursday wondering why your money came early, and worrying whether it would come again next month. Now here's where it gets more interesting. Because the calendar isn't done yet, the vast majority of Social Security recipients, the retirees, the disabled workers, the survivors, don't get paid on a fixed date at all. They get paid based on their birthday. If you were born between the 1st and the 10th of any month, your payment lands on the 2nd Wednesday. This month, that's July 8th. Born between the 11th and the 20th, you're paid the 3rd Wednesday, July 15th. Born after the 20th, you wait for the 4th Wednesday, July 22nd. That means depending on your exact birth date, you could be paid, on paper, up to 3 weeks apart from a neighbor collecting the exact same type of benefit. And the amounts on the table are not small. The maximum possible Social Security retirement payment in 2026 sits at $5,181 a month. Almost nobody actually gets that number, because it requires 40 years of maxing out taxable earnings and waiting until age 70 to claim. But the fact that it's even possible tells you how wide the gap is between what people assume Social Security pays and what it can actually pay someone who played the system exactly right. Meanwhile, the average retired worker is bringing in something closer to $2,082 a month. That's the real number for most people. And that gap between the average and the maximum is exactly the kind of thing scammers love to exploit, but we'll get to that in a minute, because there's something even stranger buried in this month's calendar. Here's the part that trips people up every single year, and this July it's about to trip up more people than usual. If you receive SSI, you're gonna see a second deposit land in your account before the month is even over, on July 31st. Now before you get excited, this is not a bonus, it's not back pay. It's not a surprise gift from the government. It's August's payment, arriving 11 days early, because August 1st falls on a Saturday, and the Social Security Administration never pays on a weekend, so they push it forward. That means some SSI recipients are about to see 2 payments hit their account in the same 31-day window, and if you don't understand why, you might do something you shouldn't, like assume you have extra money to spend this month, when really, you just got August's rent money a week and a half ahead of schedule. Spend it like it's July's money, and you're gonna hit August with nothing in the account and no payment coming until September 1st. And this exact kind of confusion is precisely the moment scammers wait for. Every year around payment shifts and early deposits, fraud reports spike, and the scripts scammers use are almost identical. A call, a text, sometimes even a letter claiming your payment has been suspended, or that your direct deposit needs urgent verification, or that a cost of living adjustment requires you to confirm your bank details immediately, or lose your benefit. None of that is how the real Social Security Administration operates. They don't call demanding gift cards. They don't threaten arrest over the phone. They don't require instant verification through a text link. If anything about a message feels urgent, panicked, or too specific about your account, that urgency itself is the warning sign. Now, if you're one of the small number of people still getting a paper check in the mail instead of direct deposit, there's something bigger coming for you, and it's not optional. As of this year, only around 283,000 people, less than 0.5% of everyone on Social Security, are still receiving physical checks. Back in 2013, the government stopped mailing checks to most new beneficiaries entirely, pushing everyone toward direct deposit or a prepaid debit card. But under an executive order signed in March of last year, federal agencies have been ordered to finish the job and phase out paper payments almost completely. If you're in that shrinking group still waiting on a check in the mailbox, the Social Security Administration is actively encouraging you to switch, and there are only a few narrow exceptions left, mainly if you have no access to a bank or the internet, or a serious impairment that makes managing an electronic account difficult. Everyone else is being moved off paper, whether they've gotten around to it yet or not. If that's you, and you haven't made the switch, this is the month to actually do it, because that safety net of waiting is closing. So the schedule is confusing, the scams are timed to exploit that confusion, and the paper check option is disappearing. But none of that is actually the biggest number in this story. The biggest number is one most people collecting a check every month have never even heard mentioned on the news. Social Security's Retirement Trust Fund, the pool of money that helps cover benefits beyond what current payroll taxes bring in, is projected to run dry in 2032. That's not a hypothetical decades away. For plenty of people watching this right now, that's within their own retirement. And here's the part that actually matters, because headlines love to make this sound like Social Security disappears entirely, and that is not what happens. If nothing changes before 2032, the system doesn't shut off. Payroll taxes alone would still be enough to cover roughly 78% of scheduled benefits. Real money still arriving every month, just not the full amount promised. Congress has time to act before that date arrives, and there are already people in Washington saying this publicly. One senator has said in recent days that fixing Social Security is going to be a priority in the time he has left in office, and specifically flagged this trust fund deadline as the reason for urgency. Nothing has passed. Nothing changes your check this month, or likely for a while. But the clock most people don't think about is now something politicians are talking about out loud, on camera, by name. And there's one more twist buried at the very end of this that almost nobody sees coming. While that trust fund countdown is ticking down, next year's cost of living adjustment is actually shaping up to be bigger than this year's. This year's increase was 2.8%, but early forecasts for 2027, based on recent inflation trends, are pointing toward an adjustment as high as 4.7%. That would mean a meaningfully larger check landing in accounts roughly 6 months from now, even while the long-term funding conversation keeps getting louder in the background. So here's where that leaves things. This week's payment wave isn't random, and it isn't a mistake if your deposit looks a little different than you expected. It's a calendar built around birthdays, holidays, and a quirk of the weekend. Deposits that are shifting because of things that happened decades ago and rules written into the system from the start. If you're still on paper checks, that option is closing fast. If you're expecting 2 SSI deposits this month, that second one already belongs to next month's bills. And underneath all of it, there's a countdown running toward 2032 that determines what this system even looks like for the people who are watching this today and won't be retired for another 10, 20, 30 years. The date on your calendar might just be a number, but this year, it's worth actually knowing which one is yours, because the difference between understanding this schedule and ignoring it is the difference between spending confidently and running out of money in a month you thought you had covered.